No, on with us today, we have Jullianne Condrey. Jullianne Condrey is the founder of the Conservative Women's Network. But before even that, I remember working with Jullianne in the Virginia General Assembly. She had worked with Delegate Dave LaRocque, Senator Amanda Chase. And Jullianne was just one of those people around the Capitol that knew what they were doing, knew how it worked down there, knew what she believed was just an incredible asset to everyone that she worked with. And so we are excited to have her on. So Jullianne, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
No, great. Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about the Conservative Women's Network and kind of what, why did you why did you think this was necessary to start at this time and put your energy behind this?
Absolutely. The Virginia Conservative Women's Coalition came together as an idea just this past December, and it became quickly apparent that there was a need and a desire for an organization like this. Currently, we have about 175 members by invite only to our Facebook group, and 28 of those women are running for state, local, or party office this year.
Wow.
I mean, so the response has been tremendous. Our mission is very targeted and specific. We are working to encourage, recruit, and facilitate the training of conservative women at the state and local level. We're not a PAC. We don't endorse. We don't contribute financially. Our intention is to partner with the state party, the VFRW clubs, the YRs, the House and Senate caucuses, to work toward our common goal of electing more conservative candidates. I mean, ultimately, this is about freedom. It's about liberty. It's about our right to stand up for what we believe. Right now we have about 5 Republican women in the House of Delegates and 3 Republican women in the Virginia Senate. And frankly, we'd like to see more conservative women in office.
Well,
because we have a lot to offer. We have a lot to bring to the table.
No, absolutely. Well, let me ask you this question, right? So, I mean, you're absolutely right. And one of those women was Delegate Brenda Pogge, who was my seatmate, who just announced her retirement this year, which was, I mean, for Mike Weber and I, we sit right next to Brenda, and we referred to Brenda as the den mother, right? She was the adult supervision of our area on the House floor, and just an incredibly not only just intelligent and passionate about her values and her beliefs, but incredibly graceful in that process as well. She just added a whole lot of much needed class to the House of Delegates, and so it was heartbreaking to see her go, but understand what she is and spending more time with family, and she just believes that you shouldn't be in office forever. But what do you say to the people that kind of respond back to you? It's like, okay, well, it's the Conservative Women's Coalition. Aren't you just engaging in identity politics from the right? Like, what's your response to that?
Sure. I mean, and my initial response, I mean, even to forming this group, I was very hesitant because I do not support identity politics. I don't support candidates just because they're female. I don't think a female is always the best candidate. I mean, I believe very strongly in choosing the best candidate from those who are running. However, we just don't have very many women running to even choose from. So, we're just trying to encourage more women to run. We're not saying it always has to be a woman, but we just would like to see more women entering the field so that we do have options. But also, right now, I think that there are particular issues that are at the forefront where it might be best coming from a woman to present the conservative position. So it's somewhat strategic as well. It's not just about having equal numbers of the gender representing, in the General Assembly.
Well, see, and I think you nailed it, right? There's a difference between identity politics, which is just to say that we want the general makeup of a legislative body to look a certain way. There's a difference between that and saying, well, no, it's important that when you're talking about political philosophy and when you're talking about public policy, obviously we want someone to share that, from the right, we want someone to share that conservative policy, that dedication to individual liberty and personal freedom and personal responsibility. But it's always good to have different perspectives and different experiences in there. And if the only perspective that you're getting is largely coming from a particular demographic, then you're missing out. I mean, that sounds to me like
absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that I would never categorize what you're doing as identity politics from the right. I think it's desperately needed. Because we do need more of that perspective. Now, as you're talking to it, because I got to participate in one of your events, and I mean, it was a packed room.
And you were fantastic, by the way. You were one of the favorites.
Oh well, thank you. I don't want to brag, but I'll let you do it for me. But no, but it was a great event. It was high energy. It was very informative, very well attended. But what would you say is, and honestly, and a lot of my time in Virginia politics, that was the first time I had seen a room just packed full of conservative women that were running for office, that were learning about the process. And you had people that had run before, you had people that had never considered it before. What do you think has been the motivating factor? Because we do have a lot of women running on Republican tickets. It's very encouraging to see. What do you think has been a big motivating factor of that?
Well, I mean, it varies obviously from person to person, but overall, I would say that there were two kind of motivating factors. One would be that conservative women have had enough. They've had enough with liberals defining what a successful woman is. As a conservative woman, and, I've heard this from pretty much everyone that has attended or reached out to me, we're constantly being harassed by liberals. We're accused of abandoning our gender. Just horrible things have been said about us, from those who supposedly believe in diversity, tolerance, and inclusion, but not when it comes to being a conservative woman. So we're tired of the liberal media, liberal women dominating the conversation about what a successful woman looks like, and we're standing up and saying, enough, we're going to change that narrative, that women can be conservative, and there are a lot of conservative women, and we're going to stand up and start representing some of the conservative women that are out there a little more vocally. But a second factor, I would say, a number of the candidates who have decided to run this year were motivated because they were appalled and disgusted by the extreme abortion bill that Delegate Tran put forward, which, if anyone has not seen the video of her presentation in committee, you absolutely should watch it. But that bill was the impetus to several candidates running. And a lot of new candidates want to show the voters of Virginia that there are differences of opinion among our gender, and that there are many conservative women who are looking for someone who represents them well.
Well, and I'll tell you, it was fascinating to me, especially when we saw Sarah Palin running as John McCain's vice president, and whether you loved Sarah Palin or not, that really wasn't the point. The thing that really shocked me was the response that she got. Especially from men on the left. It was almost as if she didn't count. Like all the talk we hear about, we're trying to get rid of misogyny and toxic masculinity. I mean, all the stuff that we hear from the left. And then when it was Sarah Palin, it was like, oh, no, game on. You could call her whatever you wanted. You could make whatever jokes you wanted. You could attack her looks. You could attack her intelligence. You could do any one of that. And it's like, you got to pass. And I mean, so here's my question. Was that something that has been directed kind of more specifically at Sarah Palin? Maybe there's other reasons, or have the other female candidates that you're talking to, conservative female candidates, have they experienced kind of similar treatment from sectors of the left that almost behave as, since they're conservatives, well then they don't have to have any respect for their gender?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've heard quite a few stories just in recent days for the women that have entered the races, and immediately out the bat, as soon as they announce just the vicious attacks and just very ad hominem attacks, and specifically about gender and. Unfortunately, female body parts always enter the conversation as if that's all we're made of. So it's very frustrating because we're trying to talk about issues and the things that concern us, and women's issues go far beyond our reproductive parts. And we want the opportunity to have a seat at the table to do that. But yes, unfortunately, I have heard a lot of stories that are shameful. Now, not everyone's like that. I mean, I'm a graduate of the Sorensen Political Leaders Program. I know plenty of Democrats that are willing to have a very civil conversation and treat others with respect. But I think society-wise, just a lack of respect for a fellow man is an issue. And it's reflected in our politics, unfortunately.
No, I definitely. And I think that's an important point, right? We don't want to put everybody into these large categories and instantly write them off. But again, it was shocking to me to see the kind of vitriol. And again, we go back to the same comment, right? If the press, if a Republican man said something about a Democrat woman, it said the sort of things that Democrats were saying about Sarah Palin or Democrats have said about other conservative women, I mean, they'd be done. Their careers would be over. They'd be out. And you know what? Bottom line is that I don't necessarily have a problem with that in the sense that I'm tired of people engaging in just the nonstop ad hominem attack and kind of these cheap attack tactics that are being used. But it does seem overwhelmingly one-sided most of the time, at least when the media is covering it. And we're going to have another guest on later today who is a candidate who had just could not believe, as she was describing to me what happened in a coffee shop as she was in a meet and greet and just getting cussed out because for having a quiet, polite conversation about public policy. And so, look, I think what you're doing is incredibly important. What other things do you want people to really know about this program?
Well, our main focus is, as I said, reaching out and building a support structure across the Commonwealth to help equip and train women or facilitate the training, and that's our primary focus. We are in the midst of starting a website and other forms of communication. We've been operating pretty much by word of mouth and invitation only and have just grown so fast. So we are going into that next step. But, I think I wanted to bring up Kate Cole James, I think, is a good example of how the left has destroyed a conservative African-American woman with false attacks. And, I think that's a primary example. She's not a candidate, but she is a leading conservative female voice. And the way that she was attacked is just incredible to behold that's happening in our society.
Well, and for those that don't know, Kate Cole James at the Heritage Foundation, but she's served in a number of capacities and boards here in Virginia. Just an incredibly intelligent and powerful woman, powerful speaker. I once saw her speak at a convention. And for any of you that have been to a political convention, you know how kind of loud and rowdy and nobody's really paying attention to the speakers unless it's one of the main candidates getting up. And she got up there, and I'll tell you what, she had such a command presence of that room as she went in and talked about what she believed and what we believe as a group and as conservatives, and just an incredible woman, a force to be reckoned with, to be sure. And I almost feel like to some degree, because many on the left, again, not everybody, but because many on the left do see women's issues as theirs, their province. It's almost like when a woman steps outside of those boundaries, and when a woman starts, forcefully advocating for conservative principles, they don't just treat her like a traitor with respect to political philosophy. It's like you said, it's almost like they treat her like a traitor to her gender, as if political philosophy is inherent to a particular gender. And I just, again, it's an additional challenge that I think women face when they run for office that men typically don't. People don't generally, they don't generally assume our politics based off of our boy parts, but it seems like they do want to. It seems like they do want to, assign political motives to, female anatomy, and it doesn't make any sense. I think it's a very myopic and narrow-minded way of viewing it. So look, I just want to say I appreciate all the work that you're doing. What is the best way? So as different people are listening to this, whether they're people that want to assist you, whether they're people that want to be potential candidates. I know you're still getting your website set up. I think I was at the first meeting you guys did conceptually for this, which I believe was like in December. And within an incredibly short period of time, you've got 50 candidates showing up to a room, and you've got speakers from the House of Delegates and Kate Obenshain, who's an absolute rock star. So you've grown so quickly. I mean, obviously you got some infrastructure catching up to how quick the movement is, which is a good problem to have. But what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they have questions or if they want to help?
Sure. For right now, we're just there's an email, virginiawomenrock@gmail.com, where that's the best way to reach us. We do have, again, we have a closed Facebook group that's by invitation only. So if you know someone who is a member, you can ask to be invited in. We have been operating, like you said, we hosted a candidate and staff training day with 40 registered, potential candidates in the room. So, I mean, we have really just grown very quickly. And this is an all-volunteer effort. So, I mean, this is not my day job.
Yeah.
So, virginiawomenrock@gmail.com is the best way to get me right now.
All right, this is Nick Freitas on with Jullianne Condrey from Virginia Conservative Women's Coalition. And I just want to say, before we let you go, I just want to tell everybody out there right now, I can't tell you how great it has been when serving in the House of Delegates, when Brenda Pogge gets up on the floor and speaks, when Delegate Margaret Ranson gets up there and just defends our principles. And she has had to take some incredibly difficult choices as a leader, as a committee chair, and just a rock star. We all refer to her as Margaret the Great. Kathy Byron, who's the head of the conservative caucus within the Virginia House of Delegates, Roxanne Robinson, Delegate Emily Brewer, who is a rising star within the Republican caucus in the House of Delegates. There are a lot of them out there, but I'll tell you what, they really need us to come alongside and support, because as I said before, and it's because Jullianne has articulated, our conservative women face unique challenges when they walk into this political sphere, because they pay a higher price for it. They pay a higher price for it with respect to how the media treats them, with respect to how Hollywood treats them, and with respect to how some people on the left treat them. So if you got some time, if you got some skills, if you got some money, these are candidates we want to support, because as Jullianne already stated, she's absolutely right. On certain issues especially, when a strong conservative woman stands up there and articulates it and argues for it, it engages with the culture in a way that is just, you just don't get the same impact when it's a dude doing it. And we can be upset all day long because, yes, arguments should be able to stand on their own merit. But look, people like diversity of perspective. And I love that we've got these candidates, and I love that we've got these current women who are filling leadership roles in the House of Delegates. So, Jullianne, thank you very much. And we will follow up with you at another time. Thank you.